Hey everyone, what is up? Welcome back to another Jammin on the Tao reading of the Daodejing. Today we are going to bring in number 66. I am Mark. I am here as always with my good friend Adam. Say
Nice to see
hi.
y'all.
Say hi to the people, Adam.
Hello, people.
Hello,
Hello, people.
people. And special guest, my wonderful wife Natalie is going to join us today and bring in a little bit more of that feminine concept, not because she's a female, but because she has a version that speaks to a little bit more of the divine feminine. And we always encourage that. We always like bringing different perspectives in. We always talk about the masculine and the feminine ourselves, but it's nice to have another version. I'm going to be reading the David Hinton version here today, number 66. Oceans and rivers become emperors of the 100 valleys because they stay so perfectly below them. This alone makes them emperors of the 100 valleys. So, wanting to rule over the people, a sage speaks from below them, and wanting to lead the people, he follows along behind them. Then he can reign above without weighing the people down, and stay ahead without leading the people to ruin. All beneath heaven rejoices in its tireless praise of such a sage. And because he's given up contention, nothing in all beneath heaven contends with him.
Mm,
So obviously we have some masculine going on here, but this is an amazing image that we've talked about in several
mm,
different passages before, with this whole leading from below, leading from behind,
mm,
kind of like the role of the shepherd, where you're herding people forward in directions that allow them to be safe, but you're not leading from above, saying everybody follow me. You all kind of go your own way, but if we start veering off, I'll help you, I'll guide you back onto the track. And I just that image, that motif shows up again and again and again with
mm,
Dao De Ching. And
mm,
do you have a little bit of a different version there? No.
Yeah, it's like the words are, I mean, it's sort of obviously
Same
same
concept.
concept. It's very different words, which is interesting.
mm,
Let's hear it.
So this is the Divine Feminine Tao Te Ching. It's by Rosemary Anderson, just to share that. Yeah, so this says the sea governs 100 rivers. As the sea is lower, the sea governs the rivers. As the wise are above, they must speak as below. As they are ahead, they must follow behind. In this way, the wise are above, yet no one is held down. They stand in front, yet no one suffers harm. This is why the world rejoices and upholds them without limit, as the wise do not compete. No one competes with them.
Mm.
Similar,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
mm,
So the
definitely
same
doesn't have the
concept.
him or hers aspect.
Yeah,
Yeah,
more of a
mm,
generic.
larger. Yeah, like lift it
mm,
up a little. Yeah.
mm,
So again, we see those same motifs of leadership. What does leadership really mean? And again, we've explored this in past videos, and it's we really need to hand this book out to CEOs and politicians and have them read it, because it seems so simple, but we don't see that happening in most of the leadership that we see today. Not all. There are definitely some that lead from more noble in noble ways, but we see so much of this top-down hierarchy structure that just doesn't work. And you have these people on the sort of bottom that don't feel like they have any value. They don't feel like they have a voice. They don't feel like they have any respect or any real input on how things are moving forward. But to be in the front and have the leader be behind, that can totally change the game in so many ways. What do you think?
mm. Oh, I definitely agree. And like, I mean, I also was really struck by, I mean, every time that people use water language, water metaphors, like I can't help but think of like also like emotions bit that just there's too much connection in my symbolic psyche. And so like I find that I was kind of like letting that kind of work its way, and I was sort of just thinking about how, so much of like, yeah, the kind of extreme sort of productivity grind, super, CEO kind of hero worship type cult, worst elements of our culture, like they really don't they kind of start with like what this beautiful vision is and what should be, right?
Yeah.
Instead of starting with like what actually is and like who are the people that are most affected by it. Um, and their emotional state, right? And so like I think water gives both that sort of need for us to like understand the emotional situation of like what is, so that the leader is not going to get out in front of someone's emotional piece. I mean, how many of us have, I mean, for those of us that do, especially people who are probably going to be drawn to this kind of content, have probably engaged in a lot of sort of self-healing, shadow work type stuff. And how many times have we come across the fact that like intellectually we know something, but emotionally we're so far from getting to that insight. Even if intellectually we're like, oh, I know we're all one as an intellect, but like emotionally, as still working that progress of like, okay, what does that mean to actually dissolve in union with all that is, right? Like
Mhm.
that's something that takes a lot of time emotionally to deal with, not just intellectually knowing, okay, there's no such thing as death. But like, okay, that's an intellectual insight. So like to me, I don't know. I couldn't help but feel like there was some element that water element was bringing. Like a good leader is going to descend because that's where emotions tend to go, down to the weakest, down to the lowest, down to down. Right? This gravity's going to bring them down.
Where
The water
water goes.
flows
Yeah.
down exactly, and so the good leader understands those dynamics and follows the way, right? And follows that dynamic and leads with those dynamics in mind. Knowing that it can't make water go up except for the process of evaporation. So
Mhm.
like I was also kind of like thinking about the rain cycle. There was
Yeah.
something about the said where it said rains above. And I know it meant probably REIGNS, like rain like king. But I couldn't help but like my mind's got that homonym and was like, but kind of is like you think of like that power of awareness, the sun kind of heating up the water and the water turning into vapor or air like element and then coming up back into the water, up into the sky where it can become clouds and then when
Yeah.
required to kind of bring that
Yeah.
positive negative charge clearing through lightning and thunder. So like I kind of like started to feel like this whole rain cycle that felt really connected to what they were talking about, which is I think also another beautiful thing about this book and this tradition is the way that it looks at the natural world as a guide for
Yeah.
how to understand reality, how to understand all the dynamism of these energies that we're all, floating in this information field. And it's like saying, okay, well, look at nature carefully, and that gives you your way to understand how to move forward.
Yeah. That's Taoism in general. I mean, that's
Yeah.
even the allegory of how the ancient Taoist sages came up with the idea of yin and yang was by perceiving this hillside that was part in shadow, part in sun, and that interplay. We've talked about the interplay of energies before,
Hmm.
and that interplay of the time of day shifting and the shadow waning and the light waxing and vice versa. And it's a continuous cycle. It's not like it happens
Hmm.
once and it's done. It continues and continues
Nope.
and continues. So that creates balance, that creates harmony, and that
Yes.
creates this cycle of
Movement.
continuing movement going on.
Hmm.
And that's what we need in our lives. People get so stagnant in a
Hmm.
situation and stuck, whether it's
Hmm.
professionally or romantically or whatever. And it's because there's a lack of movement, even in our
Hmm.
health. Like movement is life. We talk about this
Hmm.
a lot, where a sedentary lifestyle will obviously bring issues. But if you
Hmm.
move, if you keep everything fluid and mobile
Hmm.
and active, but not so much into the extreme state of burning out, and that's
Hmm.
where people's careers go. That's where
Hmm.
people's workout ethics can go sometimes. And there we go, talking about the extremes again. So we,
Hmm.
we we reel things in and allow that flow of the yin and the yang, the fire and the water, to continually uplift and support each other and bring down when it's overwhelmed. And that's how we can have a more fluid, peaceful lifestyle, whether it's our own lives, whether it's the greater scheme around us, whether it's politics, whether it's our jobs, doesn't matter. The same concepts apply in all levels of life.
Hmm.
And it's just, that's the way. That is the way of nature. Like you said, we see the seasons, we see the time of day, we see
Hmm.
cosmologically out in above our planet, outside of our planet, and within ourselves, the microcosm, we see it all over the place, yet we ignore it a lot of the times.
Hmm.
So bringing that, like you were talking about the intellectual component, that would be like the yang kind of leading and the emotions of the yin behind, but we can flip that around by doing that inner work, that shadow work, and allow our emotions to lead and our intellect to sit back a bit to reassess the situation. But it doesn't mean it has to stay that way. Then it shifts again and it shifts again. And we have this wheel. Everything works in a perpetual motion through the wheel, through the cycle, our year, everything.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting because wisdom is it it's it's a knowing that there's no competition when you're just it's like when you go into the depths and the underbelly of what's really going on in this world and you see it when you've been taken into, the darkest of dark places and you've lived it, you've breathed it, what that feels like. You are leading from a place of knowing rather than competing, and then you're also carrying this this says the wise are above yet no one is held down, because the wise uplift. They know that the true evolution, a wisdom is knowing that evolution is about uplifting the all,
Yeah.
not the one. In
Say,
this
what's that
world,
euphemism? The all ships rise and in the tide.
I don't know
As
that
the
one.
tide goes up, all the boats go up together.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So there's this inherent, they stand in front, yet no one suffers harm. So it's also this guardianship and protecting energy rather than, what we see today is we see the tyrannical versions of all of this that have obviously over thousands and thousands of years taken hold. But that isn't the way it goes, because again, when you're leading, you're doing it by example. You're in the back, you're helping carrying things because there's people that can't. You're protecting them, so you're also standing in the front, but no one's suffering because again, you're protecting them and you're telling them there's an easy way, go this way or this way. It's easier than this way. So
based on your natural born leadership, you're guiding people.
And you've been there before. You've gone to the depths. You've seen,
Yeah, I know it's down that road. We don't trust me. We don't go down there.
And also, I think it's a lot about like creating space for people to process everything and process the information and use their own self-determination to find a direction, like a good, this is like I've just been trained in like coaching techniques. Like to me, those are like kind of like what we're describing, right? Like a good coach is going to not prescribe, but instead create space and ask powerful questions and evoke awareness and all these techniques that help the person sort of identify their own directionality, which is always going to be in the past, way more energy behind it because it's coming from within. It's not coming from the outside.
Exactly. Like you can say whatever you want, but if somebody cannot integrate or embody it,
Yeah.
it doesn't, it needs to come from,
Yep.
I say this word inner stand. I never say understand anymore, because you have to stand from the inner place, even know what wisdom feels like held in your body. That's knowledge. That's what like the Celts and the Druids and those ancient texts really were talking about.
Taoists, yeah.
Not, yeah. I mean, they're all, it's all
Gnosis, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's that gnosis. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you, Adam. Thank you, Natalie. I think we'll leave it there and open up to discussion in the comments. Please like, subscribe, and share with a friend, anyone who's interested in philosophy and life and just trying to find an easier way through this thing we call life. Until next time, have a wonderful day, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you all.